Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when and where you're watching this. So in terms of format, what we'll do here is we'll each give overall comments regarding the reviews, starting with myself, then Enrique, then Ashely. And then Ashely will present our final deliberations regarding the Kossman reviews. First, I'd like to sincerely thank Darla for the invitation to take part in this. It really is an experience to get bombarded with this range of topics and passions, and Merdad as well. My sincere thanks for the invitation also. Students, congratulations. And thank you as well for giving us the chance to look at your work and to take part in quite a diverse discussion. There's a range of topics and issues that you took head on. What was inspiring for me, or triggering of optimism for me, was the level of systems thinking here. The range of topics that you've undertaken are not the range of topics we would have encountered 10 or perhaps even 5 years ago, or at least that's my, based on my limited grasp of the general sphere of architectural discourse and practice within recent history. I think it's great. It's a great sign that the discipline and the discourse is shifting towards areas of much stronger significance, societal significance. Within my own timeline, when I was in your shoes, the term was paradigm shift. That was a term of great weight. It was a notion that we need to change how the world thinks, how the world perceives, in order to change some deep societal issues or have a chance at changing those. I think this was sort of an empowering notion when we first heard of it. Architecture became a vessel for transmitting ideas, and ideas seemed like a level playing field. But as we dove further into this, the emphasis on ideas, on abstractions of power, on hierarchies of power, it became rather the opposite. It became disempowering. Disempowering because it didn't actually give you an avenue through which to enter the discussion, the societal discussion, as an architect and as an urbanist. And maybe my thoughts will change on this topic in time. But as I see it now, thanks to a range of mentors and advisors over the years, and I should mention Howard Davis and Bonnie McDougall within the top echelons of that list. As I see it now, that the physical fabric, the built world, the building stock of cities, settlement patterns, urban block patterns, these all play quite a significant role within quite a range of societal issues. And I think that's our entry point as architects and urbanists. I think we need to dive into the specifics, dive into specific contexts, understand their complexities. And I guess that would be my advice to you all. You've found your passions, you began to investigate into them, to inquire into them. Now find the details, find the connection to architecture and urbanism, dive into the depths, beyond the surface abstraction of ideas, beyond the abstraction of paradigm shifts. Get to those details, those nitty-gritty details, and don't be fearful of the urban scale. When you get there, to that depth, I think you'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised by how malleable the world really is. Intricate, complex, but malleable. So that would be my 2 cents. Find the details so you can find your entry point. Again, congratulations, and now move on to the next step. With that, thank you, and I'll pass to my colleague here, Enrique.
Thank you, Cem. I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, it was my honor to participate in the Kossman reviews yesterday. I want to take this moment to thank not only Darla Lindberg for inviting me to participate, but also to Merdad Hadigi, the Stuckeman School at Penn State University, as well as to my colleagues Ashely and Cem, and especially to this outstanding group of students for a rewarding and inspiring day. I have to admit that I feel envious of these students. For when I was an undergraduate, I did not have an opportunity to stamp my own name in the field that I studied, which was history. And this is why I think that the undergraduate thesis in architecture is especially important. I cannot think of any other field or discipline that provides its earliest adopters and students a chance to explore the significance of their own education while managing their own research and design projects. I cannot imagine it was an easy process, and yet from what I saw yesterday, the results are fantastic. I am often uncomfortable dispensing advice to students on how to be better designers. And there are two reasons for this. First, I am a historian, a field, history that is, that really thrives on telling you that the best way to do something is to do it the way Mies or Korb or Eileen Gray or Jane Drew did it. This, as you know, may not be the best advice. Second, I can't draw. I used to, but somehow I lost the ability to do so. And I think it had something to do with the fact that I discovered punk rock and that playing guitar and bass became the outlets for my creative energies. And more recently, it has been writing. This is a very long-winded way of saying that the best advice that I can give to a young designer is to ventriloquize those words attributed to the ancient Greek poet Pausanias and inscribed at the Temple of Delphi. Know thyself. In contemporary speak, this basically means be yourself. So what does this mean for designers like yourself? I guess it means to know what you're good at, and conversely, not try to do something that you're bad at. In terms of design, this means that if you like designing things in a particular way, if all your buildings have columns or swooshy ceilings, or even if your interior programs have nothing but monkey bars and bean bags, then so be it. All you have to do is to convince your peers and teachers why the monkey bars and bean bags are great. More importantly, you have to convince yourself. You have to know the how and the why behind the monkey bars and the bean bags. And I think this is the crucial point, because at some point you will recognize that the monkey bars and the bean bags are not such a big deal. In other words, to know thyself means to know that you will change. And this is an important thing to know as an artist, a writer, or even as an architect, that you will change. Not only will you change, but the world around you will change as well. And given the current situation that we are in this moment, this global pandemic, I think you as students already have a sense of this. If there's a thread connecting all the projects that I saw yesterday, it is this. All of them showed very bright and capable students wanting to understand the massive political, social, and economic changes in our world through design. This is an important and powerful thing to behold, and as I said, inspiring. I was impressed, for example, at the ways in which you negotiated complex issues like designing for the elderly, the economics of small cities, transportation planning, and even topical events like school shootings, all in provocative and meaningful ways. I was also inspired by your desire to explore these topics across multiple geographies and through different media. The work was, simply put, awesome. And although we have identified a winner and an honorable mention, I just want to reiterate that the selection was difficult, and that seeing all these great projects yesterday was definitely a highlight, and that I wish you the best of luck as you graduate. You will be entering a changed world, but I think you are all immensely talented, and I already see myself learning from you as to how architecture and design can negotiate these strange times of ours. And with that, I will cede my time over to Ashely, to my colleague Ashely, to provide the final comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Enrique and Cem, for your comments. Hello, everyone. I want to echo my colleagues' comments and again thank the department, Darla and Meridad, for including me in this. As an alumni, this is an honor. And thank you to the students for such thoughtful presentations yesterday, despite having to do it virtually. And I'd like to actually add two things. First, I want to acknowledge that you all just experienced the true brutality of this global pandemic in a really unique way. For 5 years, you were asked to show up to studio, to bring your whole self and be open and vulnerable and rely on each other. And as an alumni of the program, I know the incredible energy of the Stuckeman family building, particularly toward the end of thesis when you make all your final decisions. And this resource, the studio, was taken from you. And for this, I'm sorry, but I'm also incredibly impressed at your resilience to carry on such thoughtful work during a time of so much change and uncertainty. And I'd like to remind you of, I think, the greatest lesson the program has taught you, that no great ideas emerge from a vacuum. We are our greatest critics and allies, and an open, collaborative studio mindset will benefit you for the rest of your careers. Second, I'd like to point out that when I graduated 10 years ago, I was in the 100th graduating class in the department's history. And it was the first class to graduate with an equal number of men and women. So to see a class so full of diversity is exciting and refreshing, and I look forward to doing this again in 10 years and discussing Kossman thesis work that's this time shaped by meaningful architectural precedents from diverse and intersectional designers. So it's your job and your privilege to go out and produce work that's worth talking about. Okay, so I have the honor of presenting the 2020 Kossman Design Thesis winner. But first, we, the jury, want to acknowledge a project that we feel is worthy of an honorable mention. The responsibility of looking beyond yourself with curiosity and empathy is a great one. By taking on the needs of the other as designers, we do run the risk of misnaming problems. But with a strong body of research and a considerate eye, conditions can be articulated in a meaningful way without bias. In the consideration of the Maasai people in Kenya, the negotiation of the commons was thoughtful and poetic, moving beyond the trauma of displacement into the celebration of culture and ritual. The presentation of research was crisp and sincere, which is a word we don't hear often enough these days. I cannot emphasize enough how relevant the architecturally trained mind is when discussing complex issues. The ability to think critically in 3 dimensions, to tell a clear story, and to demonstrate passion is a skill that's relevant to every board, panel, or team I've ever been a part of. We feel strongly that Audrey Buck has demonstrated the ability to do just this in her masterful project, Indigenous Knowledge and Displacement, and for that, we award her the honorable mention. Congratulations, Audrey, and thank you for sharing such thoughtful work. You should be proud. And finally, we turn to another excellent demonstration of sincerity and poeticism. When we think about the complexity of extreme environmental change, the image is often negative, emphasizing destruction and loss, and to an extent, rightly so. But in this instance, a story was presented that accepted the inevitable power of natural change, albeit exacerbated by man, and presented a vision of a world made new. The future city of Treme, taking shape along the shifting banks of Louisiana's Mississippi Delta, was a profound and hopeful statement that by embracing change, an entire city's architecture could be that of resilience and pride. Thomas Leonard demonstrated exceptional control over his concept from start to finish. The well-researched opening of the book took us on a journey toward a fantasy solution that, like the best fantasies, made us think twice about how far off that reality just might be. Thomas's work was clearly driven by passion. His deep personal connection to this topic was evident, and we were delighted by his ability to see the work through to issues of constructability, mobility, and even elevating it into national discourse by choosing a political icon, the Louisiana State Capitol building, to be the rallying cry of the citizens of Treme. For these reasons, amongst many others, I'd like to announce that the 2020 Kossman Design Thesis Award goes to Thomas Leonard for his elegant work, Treme, Life with the Mississippi. Congratulations, Thomas. This is very well deserved, and thank you for sharing your vision with us. Thank you all. Good luck with wrapping up the end of the semester, and thanks again for sharing all of your amazing work with us. All the best.